Facilities that make this program possible are provided by the City of Highland Park. Programs are produced independently by members of the community. The City of Highland Park is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of the City of Highland Park.
Welcome to Chill Out. I'm Pam Chill, and I'm one of the Highland Park senior producers, and today's program is entitled Never Run Out of Money, which you will find out the reason why very shortly, because we will be discussing long-term health care in depth, and we will have a panel discussion today. I'm very fortunate to have on my program, once again, Barbara Tracy and Rebecca Bloomfield. Okay, I'll do a brief intro on both of you.
Okay.
Barbara, I'll go first. You're a co-founder of Tracy Home.
First of all, I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
For appearing on
Right,
this
I admire
event.
Pam and I also admire Rebecca. They're two wonderful people. I can give you a background of Tracy Home Care.
Sure, yeah.
I've been in business since 1974. We've been in the North Shore. I've raised my children over here. I understand the area very well. We have placed over 18,000 people, and we have registered nurses. We're non-medical, but we have registered nurses that go out and do complimentary assessments. We know our caregivers, we vet our caregivers, and what I'm really proud about is that we are a family agency and we really care. So that's the most important thing. We care about the people who call us. My mom, I got home care for my mom many years ago, but I couldn't find anyone, and I started my own agency. So when people call us, it says, welcome to the family, because we always consider them like family, and we want to take care of them just as they would be, as they deserve to be taken care of.
Absolutely, and I know you've been doing this for over 40 years,
Yes,
and
yes.
you're definitely an authority.
Right. And I'm only 25 years old, but I've done it for 40 years, right.
I wanted an authority on the subject of home health care and what needs are, being long-term.
Okay.
So I want to do that. Also, we have Rebecca Bloomfield, Never Run Out of Money. Right. Okay. You're a partner at Jerry S. Pearlstein Insurance. The agency specializes in benefits such as health, life, long-term care, and disability insurance for independent entrepreneurs and small businesses. And in 2014, Rebecca earned a long-term care certification and dedicated to seeing that everyone, especially women, which I did make a note of that, have a plan to cover long-term care expenses. You're continually upgrading your knowledge of the most economical and beneficial ways to make that happen. So, Barbara, I'm going to go back to you, and please, feel free to interject anytime you want. Now, what do you think is the right time to seek and to look for home care?
Okay, when a person has declined cognitive behavior, when a person feels like they're isolated, when there's anxiety, and there's changes in the memory. That is the time. Those are the things to look for.
Okay. So it may not be the person themselves, but it might be a close loved one who's saying, you know what, I think this person needs a little help.
Right, exactly.
Right, absolutely. So Rebecca.
At the same time, when the time comes to get this care, there are standards in the insurance industry that were established way back in 1950 about how insurance can pay for the very services that Barbara offers.
I didn't know it went that far back. That's
Yes,
really,
it does. And the national, the industry at the time, and it was the insurance industry that recognized the problem and the need and set these standards. And there are 6 activities of daily living that were defined that if you can't do them and you need help doing them, not medical procedures, but the activities of daily living. So the first one is, can you get up from a chair, a bed, a wheelchair, and move to get up and get down? Are you continent? Can you get to a toilet and use it properly? Can you bathe yourself? Can you dress yourself? Can you feed yourself? And if a doctor certifies that you cannot do those things by yourself, then insurance can take over and pay for that. Now, part of the problem is that people think that Medicare or private health insurance, if you're under 65, because there are people under 65 who have problems in these areas due to illnesses or surgeries, that's going to cover the cost of the kind of care that Barbara provides. But that isn't so, because under Medicare and private health insurance, that insurance is there to get you better, to get you over the problem. But in many cases, that's not going to happen. It's going to be persistence. It's going to be continual. And under Medicare, you can have attached to some hospital stay or some surgery a certain number of days where they will pay for skilled care, not the kind of care that Barbara offers, but skilled care. And the reason they're skilled is they're skilled to get you better. So it's a big misconception about what is going to take care of you should you have an illness, even under 65, a surgery, or post 65, about what is going to pay for the kind of care that you can continue to live in your home. And 80% of the people who need care want to stay home. They don't want to go to a skilled care, a nursing facility. They want to stay home.
They want to stay in their own home, their own
That's
environment with their loved ones. And
That's right.
right, where they feel most comfortable. Right, and they want to be cared for one-on-one. They don't want to have to wait.
There's no place like home with a dedicated caregiver.
Absolutely. That is the best scenario, I think,
Yes.
for everyone. I was doing some research on it. Long-term care insurers paid a record $10.3 billion in 2018 claims. I read that and I was just, absolutely astounded. They said an average couple entering retirement at age 65 faces expensive future costs of care. The challenge is particularly stark for women.
Right,
Who
because
face
we are going to be the last
lifetime
man
costs,
standing.
right, due to longer life expectancies. And benefits were paid on more than, the $10.3 billion was paid on more than 303,000 policies. And over 7 million Americans do have long-term insurance.
Right.
So-
Ladies' Home Journal did an interesting study. They took a man who was 51, and they said if he did not pay long-term care insurance premiums and instead invested that money in the stock market, and would he have enough money for long-term care? And he was 51. And they looked over a 30-year period at 61, at 71, at 81. And in every case, and a guaranteed 6% income earnings, which hasn't over the last 10 years even been the case, but they made it consistent. And they found that at a certain point in each of those 10-year scenarios, had he needed the kind of care that Barbara provides at home to take care of his getting from place to place, feeding himself, dressing himself, taking care of his daily living, his activities of daily living, he would have reached a tipping point and not only run out of the earnings of his money, even if he waited 30 years, but have eaten up his principal.
And I could make a comment on that. Years ago, people would just pay for it out of pocket, but more and more people are investing into the home care policies because they know that they won't run out of money, okay? And investing for their future, more and more clients that call us have the home care, and I understand that clearly because that's very important for them to have. It's a security to know that they'll not only never run out of money, but they'll feel safe, they'll be at home, they don't have to go to a facility, they'll be around their natural surroundings. So that makes them feel much better and relieved. But I'm going to tell you now what a caregiver does, okay?
Yes, we want to have.
In our agency, we have non-medical caregivers, which means they're certified nurses' aides. They do companionship. They're cared by CNA. But the thing that's really exciting about it is that a lot of times what we do is we have them paint a picture. And when they paint the pictures, they kind of reminisce about their days from years and years ago, and it brings back past memories. And that gives them such a wonderful, wonderful feeling of doing something cultural. We also like to promote music in the heart. I always said my mom's heart was filled with music. And listening to music and dancing to music and doing those things, those are all wonderful things to promote an enriched day. Other than that, it's so nice that you can not only have a dedicated caregiver, but somebody who knows how to be a companion, but some other people maybe don't want it intrusive, so it has to be a good match. You have to match, it's like being fixed up. You have to match the right person with the right person. Not only that, taking to appointments, going to the senior centers, to events, and enriching, and somebody who can make their day enriching for them. Not just sit and watch television, because there's a mind-body connection that's really important, and I believe in that. So the caregiver has to follow the client's passion. If a person likes art, if they like to go to a museum, if they like to it's like person-centered care. They have to listen very carefully. And the good traits, the positive traits in a caregiver, are to anticipate what the client needs, to engage with their family, and to have a good communication, because it's not only taking care of mom, comes the children, comes the whole family, to be a good listener, to anticipate, and a caregiver who really wants to do it. It's like anything else. Somebody who has a sense of accomplishment and really enjoys what they're doing, then it works well. That's what we do.
Wonderful.
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And it's such a beneficial job, I mean, doing that, and it really,
Right.
just helps so many people.
Right, and I know that Rebecca Pearlstein has a wonderful reputation for doing the right things, because the reason that we connect so nicely is that she's a family business and I a family business, so it's not just like cooking numbers. We're not looking for that. We're looking to build relationships between people, no matter where it is, and to do the job for the highest good.
Absolutely. Rebecca, I just want to ask you a few questions. So, when is the best time to get long-term care insurance?
The best time is when you're young.
Yes.
As in any insurance.
Yes.
The younger you are, you're healthy, and the premiums are lower. And the wonderful thing that has happened, in the last several years, the number of companies providing long-term care insurance has decreased. And the reason they decreased is the model of giving money to skilled nursing facilities was no longer good because people wanted to stay at home. So instead of a separate long-term care insurance policy, there now is a whole life policy that pays a guaranteed dividend of money that is available now as well as later, and access to the death benefit of up to 80 or even 90% should you need long-term care. So when you're young, if you start your whole life insurance policy and you need the regular death benefit that a young person might need to protect a growing family, if something happened to you, it's there. You live, your family grows, maybe you borrow some money for a house or continuing education for yourself or education for your children or vacations from your whole life insurance policy. It's tax-free. There's no penalty because of age. And then as you age, you don't need that money to protect the family, but you may need that money for long-term care. And now you can take the death benefit in payments towards your long-term care. So it's a wonderful all-in-one policy that you can have your whole lifetime long.
There's no age limit then?
There's no 108
Oh,
is the
my
age
God.
limit.
I know term usually ends at about 70, right? Or most term policies.
Yes, well, you can't renew, but you see, when you're doing term, unless you've made some specific other arrangement, you buy it at 35, at 55 it's over, and you're now buying at 55-year rates. And you're starting all over again. I mean, who won? You're still alive and healthy.
Right, so you
But you
won
don't
essentially,
have,
but, right.
but you don't have insurance. So we like starting out with young people. We see people whose policies have termed at 50 or 55. It's a very good time to look at a whole life insurance policy. And when you're starting, and nowadays young couples are starting later, their families later, at 30 to 35, a great time to look at a building of dividends, annual dividends. We have policies that are paying over 8% beyond the Ladies' Home Journal, and that is available to you, no age limit, no penalties, federal tax-free, now, as well as money for later.
Now, women especially, are very vulnerable as far as, because they can outlive a spouse and,
Right.
financially. So for women, what do you advise? I mean,
Well, I would like to speak personally. I have living with me a 98-and-a-half-year-old mother. My father passed away when my mother was in her 70s. And he had never bought long-term care insurance for her, something I didn't find out till she was 80. It's one of the reasons I took the certification. It was personal as well as professional. So she did well on the investment and the Social Security that were there to give her continuing education, continuing income. But then at 95, she had a little incident that left her with disequilibrium. She's a continual fall risk. She has to have someone with her all the time because she can't do that thing about getting up from a chair or getting up from the bed. She gets too dizzy and she falls over. She can't stand and brush her teeth or cook herself a meal because she gets dizzy. And at that point, we had to bring her into our house. And in order for me to live the life that I was living all the time, I needed to bring in care, the kind of care that Barbara offers. So that's a reason for women, even single women. There are now more women of marriageable age who are single than there are married women of that age because of longevity and because of choice starting out. And in that case, single women say, I don't need a life insurance policy. Who would I leave the money to? Leave the money to yourself.
to yourself, absolutely.
Leave the
Right.
money to yourself. Don't never run out of money. Have it growing now. Have access to a great pot of money when you need it to take care of yourself in your own place.
Especially being single, you want to have the best care that you can get.
That's right.
Right, because no one is going to be looking after
There's
you.
no one
Even
there
the
for
small
you.
little things, just going to get groceries or going to the drugstore, or doing little basic shopping. You need somebody to do that for you because you
That's
don't
right.
have, a close relative to do that sometimes.
And the
Sometimes you've outlived everyone.
And the companionship is really important. If you've lived a wonderful life and are used to being with people, but though you went to them, you went to gatherings, so you want your life as close to the way it was until it's not. And that's why we say never run out of money, long-term care insurance now and later.
Yes, and unfortunately, a lot of people do run out of money. And then the scenario is, going to some facility, and it could be public aid.
But now if they plan for it, they don't have to do that.
Right.
So it's really about planning. Like anything else, when you plan for something, it works well. If you don't plan for it, it's not going to work well. So it's really the foresight of looking for the future and knowing what is best, whether it's single, whether it's married, whatever it might be.
Right. And I did wanted to ask you, so somebody getting insurance now, say they are a very, young person, just, hypothetically, they're somewhere in their 30s, early 30s. Okay, they're not going to need this for probably, into their 80s. When is the usual age when you start needing help? Is there like an average about?
Not at this time.
Not at this time.
No, not
Everybody's
at
going
this
around,
time.
right, across the board on that.
That's right. We have
But
people
we
who
have-
aren't retiring from even big companies until well into their 70s.
The 70s, right. So how can we foresee how much policy to give them? Because 50 years from now,
Well, that's going to grow. The death benefit is going to grow. And with the dividends, there's going to be cash for now. And the death benefit is going to grow with you.
but how
So-
can we foretell, how much care will be, like how much is care now? So price-wise, if you're getting, say you need
what it is
24-hour care,
well,
approximately.
a lot of people come in and they start small. They might want somebody 3 days a week. And then
Okay.
as time progresses, this goes to 4 or 5 days a week. So it's cheaper than really a facility because you have your dedicated caregiver and it can always grow. But the thing that's nice about it is that you don't have to take everything at one time. When you go into a facility, you need the meals, you need the this, you need the that. So basically, it's $26 an hour and $28 for the weekend.
It's average across the
Yeah.
board is what we're doing.
That's
So somebody has to figure out, you do it mathematically.
That's right. There are tables for that.
There are tables
just
for
as there are
that,
the
right.
actuarials, just
Right.
as there are longevity tables, have tables for
So
it.
they
And
can-
you can
right.
add along the way. Let's say
Uh-huh.
you're starting out and your money is going to establishing yourself, and which includes establishing your career, and then somewhere or 40 or 50, 45 or 50, things are better. Many basic things are paid for. You're now making an excellent living. Now you can increase your death benefit.
And you never lose the money, which is nice.
You never
which is
lose.
right.
You never run out of money.
Never run out of money.
You never run out of money.
I'm sure you've heard bad scenarios of people who have run out of money.
Yeah, right.
Well, unfortunately, yes, they come to us, and
Uh-huh.
and mostly, it's the children who would come to us and say, my mom, and so I make sure that the 50-year-olds who have kids who are late teens or going to college know that they establish this program so they don't put on their children.
Right. It's
What
a
was
big,
put
it's
on
a
them.
burden. It's a burden, right.
It's really difficult. I mean,
Yes.
if you love your parents, you love your children, you're going to have grandchildren. You want to be, again, have as much choice with as much money to fund that choice as you possibly can. And a whole life insurance policy with a long-term care benefit rider is just a perfect way to do that.
Now, is there any fear that the insurance company will cut benefits after a while or change them?
No,
or-
they're locked into
They're
what
locked into
they're
that.
locked into what you have, and the policy now gives you money rather than paying a provider
Okay, so
or paying
right,
a
that's
facility.
That's what I wanted
you
to know.
get the
So
money,
you get the money, and
I
then you
can give
can
the money
allocate where you want
where
it to
I
go.
want it to
right.
go. If a doctor says that I cannot do 2 of the activities of daily living,
Then you can get it.
and it's 90 days, which maybe Medicare will cover, but it's 90 days. Now you get into long-term. 90 days is the short term. Now you get into long-term care. That money can come to me to use as I wish.
Right, but although sometimes some insurance policies want you to have certified nurses' aides. So that's why a lot of people call us, because they need a certified nurse's aide to do it. Every insurance is different. And then you document and you do everything.
How do you predict, going into your crystal ball in the future, what do you think it's going to happen? Let's just say, I mean, we're not going to go way, but like 10 years from now, what do you think?
This idea of giving the person who needs the care money to choose has opened up many things.
And this has happened recently,
Yes,
right?
just recently. And what it has opened up is group homes. I have a friend in Rhode Island, and 7 women bought a shut-down motel, and they each have a place, and they have a young couple that they hired who lives with them. They have a pool. They bought the motel, and that's where they're living, and they're all over 75. They're 75
that
to
is
90.
really creative.
And
Very
they have the
good.
money to do that. We are going to have our own robots who won't be real companions, but are helpful to everybody. We'll have automated medicine boxes that Walgreens or CVS will give you that have dosages for you.
I think they have that already, though, right?
That's
They
what
do have it.
coming
They do
out
have
more and more.
Yes.
We'll have
That's so important, Joe. I have
bioelectronics
to say the medication,
to
because
monitor us.
medication errors are tremendous.
But all those things cost money to buy. And the money still has to be there to pay for the service. And so I think that's where long-term care insurance will continue to fill that need for the funding for as artificial intelligence, science, advances in medicine, and community homes and community services, they'll still require funding. They're not going to be free. And now you're going to be able to pay for that going forward.
Now, are there certain areas that I think are more beneficial to live in, that have more needs, like for long-term insurance? I mean,
You know, we're only licensed in Illinois, and I really don't know. I don't know about that. Certainly in this area, there are many places and many levels of places, and government underwriting of housing, which helps a great deal. Medicaid beds are getting less. Medicare Advantage services are shrinking.
so even if you go into a facility, a rehab or, a skilled nursing facility, they have very few Medicaid beds. They're getting less and less and less, yes.
And even in Medicare Advantage, those doctors and facilities are paid about 72% of what the marketplace gets paid, and they cannot carry that financial burden to a great extent and stay open. So the boomers, as they move forward, there will be more of them who Saturday Night Live had a whole skit about that.
Oh, really? I have to go back and look at that.
This past Saturday night, about what boomers are getting that millennials might not have available free
Yes, that is true.
or supported by government, and will need that money.
Yes. So the only way to get that money is to get a long-term policy. It really does
right.
have advantages.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to thank very much Barbara Tracy for being on the program.
It was my pleasure.
Yes, talking to us about home health care and what it entails. And I also wanted to say that you do have bonded, insured.
Oh, everyone is bonded and
Right,
insured.
so you never have to worry, that person.
Right.
And then
Background checks,
Background
fingerprint
checks.
But we know the people who we place because we are a family agency. So we pride ourselves on the people we know.
the right match and the right
Right,
fit.
exactly.
Right. And the thing about home health care is it could be as little as you want or as much as you want.
Right.
And
That's
the needs,
That's
because if you
right.
put somebody too early into a facility, you're really kind of taking away their independence. So, you have to do it as a gradual process, which, I believe in, to give people as much as they can do when they can do it.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, with extra care and then Medicaid hospice, you can stay home forever if you want to.
Right, you don't have to go.
You
don't
never have to leave, right?
You might never have to leave. So,
You're getting very good care. Well, thank you again,
Oh, it's
Dr.
our
Tracy,
pleasure.
Thank
Rebecca
you, Pam, for
Bloomfield.
the service
Thank
you
you,
give to
and never
everybody.
run out of money. We will try.
Oh, yes.
I think I probably have about another 12 months to live on, and then
I think you're doing a very lovely community service by having
We
all
try,
different.
we
Yes,
try.
thank you again.
yes.